Good morning, good life. Welcome back to AmyTV, where we come together to help you go after the life you want. And I just hit my ceiling because I'm not used to sitting over here. We have these like vaulted ceilings and I just forgot I was a little close to this side. Anyway, one of the things that I absolutely love to do when it is summertime is slather on the SPF, grab a glass of Prosecco, and a good book. So I thought in this episode of AmyTV that we could talk about 6 books, that's right, 6 that I have read already to kick off summer of 2020. 2020 is not canceled. We just need to make the most of it. Write that down, kids. If you're familiar with AmyTV Book Club, you know that we typically talk about one book, and I announce it in advance so that we can all read it together and then come together as if it were a real book club to discuss it. And I found that that format wasn't working for me anymore, so I'm not gonna do it that way. We are making drastic improvements to our format. A big announcement to that coming later in the show, so stay tuned. All right, let's jump into it. Here are the 6 books that I read to kick off the summer of 2020. Number 1 is an oldie, and I may have already talked about it on the show because I was very excited to pick it up. It is one I've already read, but I actually read it in like 2007 or 8. Probably 7, before I had ever made a YouTube video, before I had ever even thought about starting a business. And it just looked really pretty and cool and exciting on the shelves in Target. So I bought it. And that is The 4-Hour Workweek. There is so much good information in this book, not just if you think about being an entrepreneur in your life, but if you just maybe want to work out different work conditions with your boss. He gives a lot of great advice in The 4-Hour Workweek. Him being Tim Ferriss, the author. One of the reasons why I wanted to pick this book back up is because I was actually taking a little bit of a break from work. I took about a week off, and I just thought it would be cool to reread this with this new context and new wisdom that I have now being in business for 10 years to see if there's anything in here that would have flown over my head at the time and now would change the game. If you have already read 4-Hour Workweek, I ask you to consider how long has it been, and maybe are there some things in there that if you got a refresher on, you could take yourself out of certain hamster wheels or treadmills, if you will, that have been keeping you on the same path that's taking you not very far. If you haven't read it and you are thinking, I need more freedom in my life, maybe I want to start a side hustle, maybe I just want to change the way that I work in a traditional sense to do something that's more with the time so that I can have more time with the people I love, there's a lot of great information in here, far beyond what I just said. A lot. So definitely pick up The 4-Hour Workweek if that sounds good to you. This is the original version. This is the one that I have had since I bought it off the shelves in Target in 2007. I'm a book hoarder like that. There was an updated version. I did not read this one. I read the Kindle of the updated version. I highly recommend you do that because there's a lot of testimonials of people like me who read the book back then but actually did a lot with the information. So reading about their stories was really cool. Once I finished this, like I said, really quickly, I didn't want to be done with Tim. Sometimes I'm so hooked on a book and it ends and I'm disappointed it ends, and I feel like the best thing that you can do is stick with the author. So the next book that I decided to pick up was The 4-Hour Body. This honkin' piece of sexy right here. I hadn't dug into this one too much, and I also read this one on Kindle. I just like to have props for you. The really awesome thing about this book, and it's on the back here, is it says, thinner, bigger, faster, stronger. Which 150 pages will you read? Why does he say that? Because there are 545 plus pages in this book. Well, he really does like a choose your own adventure thing. We're not all on the same body journey. We might be trying to lose weight versus trying to build muscle versus trying to train for a galactathon, you know, like, I don't know what they're called because I don't do them. Galactathon. So you really get to kind of read the beginning of the book, see which chapters apply based on what he says. Like, if you're thinking about this, this is the trajectory I would go down, chapters 1, 2, 7, and 9, or whatever. And then you just kind of go down the road that basically makes sense for what you want out of the book. So I got to stay kind of committed to Tim, but then look at it like, okay, quarantine 15 over here. Tim, what can you teach me? What can you teach me this year about taking care of my body in 4 hours? So that was a really good one as well. My husband and I ended up deciding to do slow carb because of reading this book. I have to credit my husband because he's always saying, like, Amy, I really think that you should get into kettlebells. And I always looked at him like, but then when Tim said it in the book, I was like, hey, Vin, so maybe I should get into kettlebells. And then that's how everything goes in our marriage. And he rolled his eyes loudly enough for me to hear. Really good one if you're thinking about something health and helpful. All right, enough about Tim. Love him, but we got to move on. Earlier in quarantine, I was kind of getting into memoirs. And so I decided that I was going to try to dive into one after that. And the memoir I picked up was, you just kind of, you're having a moment with what you love to watch on television, and you're like, oh, I know, I will read Lisa Rinna's memoir. I love Lisa Rinna. I honestly do. So I decided, I was like, you know what? If I love her so much, I'm going to pick up, and I can't show you. I'm trying to pull up the cover here on Kindle because this one I did not buy a hard copy of, because I didn't get through it. I'm not going to lie. And I think it's just because it's a little bit older, and she gives such good beauty and wellness tips, but they would have been unprecedented when this book came out, and unfortunately they're not unprecedented anymore. So if you do want to read about, Hollywood kind of health, wellness, beauty kind of tips and stuff, and some of her life experiences might be interesting to you, I kind of got bored and decided not to continue with it. Doesn't mean I'm any less obsessed with her, but I have been bored with many people's books that I was obsessed with the person. I don't think it means you're less obsessed with them. I think it's okay. But yeah, I was like, okay, that was good. I kind of know all this stuff, so I'm going to move on. And this is the point where I decided, you know what? I need to read a fiction book that everyone is obsessing about right now, and see if it's my bag, because I don't tend to give fiction a lot of credit. And I know that past fiction books, especially from my childhood, I was obsessed with. I read every book from the Babysitter's Club and Nancy Drew and just a bunch of stuff like that. I used to love it. So I thought, well, probably I've just not read the right fiction book lately. So that is when I picked up Where the Crawdads Sing. I was so surprised that I actually enjoyed the crap out of this book. It was a little confusing for me along the way. Like I think I had to get my imagination muscles moving because I was really trying to envision the setting of this book. But once I finally did, it was a page turner. I just couldn't put it down. I was sitting out on my deck every day, just reading, and I highly recommend it. If you want a hard copy, it's a little hard to get your hands on. This took weeks to come, luckily in time to film this video, but I read it on Kindle as well, and I really liked it, and I wanted a copy for my bookshelf, so picked it up. Really, really good if you're thinking, do I want to read fiction or not? I would give this one a try. And then continuing on the fiction theme, but then having a lot of current events happening that are making us all realize, hey, get freaking educated. That's when I decided to pick up Queenie. So Queenie is another fiction book, and it is about a Black woman from the UK and sort of her journey in something I think very relatable for a lot of women, and that is the journey of crappy, terrible men. But also with the twist of, first of all, like UK jargon as in like slang, things that people would say if they lived in England where you might not always pick it up if you live in America. I kind of like that. I kind of try to pick up that kind of stuff. But also just the different trials and tribulations of being a Black woman going through these male drama issues, especially with the dynamic of an interracial relationship where she tends to date mostly white men, and sort of talking that through with her friends and how it feels and when it starts to feel really gross and really kind of like racist in a lot of ways. And I thought it was a very eye-opening book, specifically in terms of getting educated about Black issues just in lifestyle and a lot of different ways, while also being able to take it in a fiction experience from a really, really great Black author. So I highly recommend this if you're looking for something that's like, okay, I don't know exactly what to pick up to read, if I want to get educated, because there's so many things floating around, I had a great experience with this book. And it's not the only one I plan to read to get educated. There's a couple of other ones that I have right now downloaded on my Kindle. Before I speak up about them, I just want to make sure I read them and like them. And even if I don't like them, I'll tell you, just like I kind of threw Lisa Rinna under the bus. But yeah, definitely recommend Queenie. The sixth and final book, which is not true, I have a seventh. Stay tuned. The sixth book that I want to tell you about is the one that I am still reading right now. It's June when I'm filming this, so I will be done with it very, very shortly. But it's one of those ones where it's nonfiction and you want to do every single thing that you haven't done that the author is advising you to do because it's such good advice. And that is Ramit Sethi's I Will Teach You to Be Rich. If you are similar to me and in the past have had financial scarcity mindset issues, or you're of the mentality that it's impossible for you to be successful or make more money or save enough money or invest enough money, you've got to read this book. He is breaking down all of those barriers, and it's so important that we do this sooner than later. We should be thinking about our finances now when we are young and cute, so that we have it when we are not young and cute. You know what I mean? You've got to make sure that you're investing your money, saving your money, paying off your debt, getting things to a good state so that you can go after the life you want. Do not shy away from this conversation. Yes, there are a lot of things we are learning about, especially in the last couple of weeks, that have not been taught to us in the way that should have been taught to us. We need to do things like read books to go, you know what, maybe I didn't learn everything I was supposed to learn about money, about race, about anything, about my body, about my life, the control that we have. If you want to disrupt the story that has been told to you over the years based on the situations you were in, reading is a great way to change that. And I think that that's my biggest struggle with the financial side of things, is that the majority of people don't get educated properly about how to manage their money, even just personal finances. We might have parents telling us, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, but that doesn't really teach us the lay of the land. And so educating yourself on this is so important. The earlier you do it, the better. If you're watching this and you're just becoming an adult, amazing, get ahead of it. If you're watching this and you're older, amazing, get ahead of it as much as you can. Don't just throw it all away. Highly recommend this one to figure out how to start. It's very, very practical. And I have a seventh book suggestion that I'm gonna save over for Shine Squad. And so if you wanna check that out, make sure you go to patreon.com/AmyTV and make sure you are in tier 3 and up to find out what my seventh recommendation is. My biggest thing about reading is that if it feels like a chore, you're not reading the right thing. Life is short. Quit the book if you do not like it and move on to the next one so that this can actually be a fulfilling pastime for you as well. That's your pro tip. All right, announcement time. I have decided that although AmyTV Book Club has been very fun here periodically on the channel, I read a lot, and I felt like I was really pigeonholing myself to only pick one book a month, and not everyone has the same taste, yada, yada, yada. So I've decided that AmyTV Book Club is not moving, but basically getting its own space on Instagram. If you check out AmyTV Book Club, the handle over on Instagram, you will find that we are sharing resources over there for bibliophiles like myself who are looking for the next great read of their life. We will have books of the month that we will focus the theme around, but we're also going to have tons of recommendations and tips and challenges in the meantime. So it would mean the world to me if you would pop over to Instagram.com/AmyTV Book Club to follow along and become a part of that community over there if you enjoy videos like this. And I'll be updating you over there about all things AmyTV Book Club. When you get there, go to my latest Instagram and let me know where you're reading, like what city and state and country, and what you're reading right now. Leave that in the comments on our latest post over at AmyTV Book Club. That's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. Make sure you subscribe for good vibes, kiss the ones you love, and go after the life you want. Cheers. Hello, hello, hello. Here's something to trip you up. I switched sides. Here's hoping it looks okay. See? Good thing I checked. What are you doing up there?
Amy's hair is falling down.
AmyTV Book Club is back. Better than ever. Was that believable? If you're familiar with AmyTV, and also I have to credit my husband. We're closer to the window now, so you're going to be able to hear birds and helicopters